Hey, what is good? What is good? What is good, beautiful people? Of course, you know who I am, the good doc, Dr. Mike, back again, once again, with another intriguing video for you guys today. Like I say, I hope you guys are blessed, having a good one. Doc's having an awesome one. First time to the channel, subscribe, notify. Everything you should know, everything you should need to know about the good doc should be listed in the links in the description area below. I was posed a question by my fellow brethren out there. Salute to all of y'all. Gentleman asked me, Doc, how do they treat African American men in the Philippines, more specifically in Cebu? I have a lot of gentlemen who are looking to make that trip out there to the Cebu area, and they were more interested in that particular geographical location. So I told them, okay, I'll give you the video, and I will give you this video from my honest standpoint. And also, I will reflect the question back to other gentlemen who have been in Cebu as well. So if you guys have anything else to add, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Now, the good dog lived in the Philippines for a significant amount of time, but out of all of the years that I lived there, only been to Cebu 3 different occasions. Can't lie, first time I went there, I was with my brother, my mother, and my father. I hated it. Sorry. No cap. Did not like it at all. I thought it was a horrible experience. I tried to get with some women. Now, I do admit that maybe my game back then was probably not as good as it is now, so that could have played a factor. But let's just say the doc was batting 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. I was getting nothing. Nothing was being accomplished. Nothing was done. I didn't like it. The vibe that I got from the females out there, I did not care for it at all. Okay. Again, this is an isolated incident. Maybe it's just an individual thing. Maybe it was just me. Okay. Now, again, I have been there on 2 different occasions since that time. But both of those times I was with my young lady. So as you can imagine, there was going to be no extracurricular activity from the good doc standpoint. Okay. But when I talk about Cebu in general, and when I think about it from my own personal perspective, I'll often tell you guys there are 2 key factors that you need to take into consideration. A, the gentlemen who occupy the area the most, and we'll get to that in a minute. And B, where you choose to navigate your way around the Cebu area, city area, provincial area, etc. Okay. Now, every time I ask this question, everybody knows the answer, but I often ask you guys, what area do you believe, what group of men outside of the local Filipino men occupy the area in Cebu the most? Anybody that's been to Cebu already knows that it is the Korean gentleman or the Korean race for that particular aspect, because it's females as well. And I've noticed over time things that I've always noticed, but the Koreans tend to have a very, very heavy influence in the Philippines, the K-pop, you know that. But more so in Cebu, because that's where they choose to congregate the most, or that's the area where they congregate, or that's the biggest, how can I say this, the biggest congregation of Korean people that I've ever seen in the Philippines at all. So you guys already know this in advance. Koreans, the white skin, the whole nine. You know what it is. You already know what it is. And in hindsight, I do believe that plays a particular. It's a factor, in my personal opinion, as it relates to what women look for when they're dating men in Cebu. Now, am I going to sit there and say that all black men don't stand a chance because the Korean guys got that place on lock? I am not saying that at all. I'm just saying it is always good to know your competition. I'm not saying that anybody is your competition, but I'm saying it is always good to know your competition. So I always take that into consideration. I think that, we can talk about the whole white skin, whatever, Spanish colonial time, blah, blah, blah. We can skip all that. I'm talking about where we are right now in present day Cebu, present day Cebu City, Mac 10, all of those areas in Cebu. I don't know them all off the top of my head. Koreans dominate. You know what the Koreans bring to the country. So I do believe that they have a domineering or a dominating factor that does influence some of the Filipino women's choice in the types of men that they choose to date. Just keep that in mind. The second thing is where you choose to date. Again, guys, Cebu City is just Cebu City. There are different places outside of Cebu City. Bohol, Iloilo, you name them. There's a lot of places on the outskirts. And if you ask me honestly, I do believe that you have a better chance of finding a woman that is for you, more so in the provincial areas outside of the city. And I say that because, and I say that in every area that you go to, Metro Manila, even Davao City, Cebu City, places like that. In the city area, you can't really, you can't really say that you're gonna get the best of the best as it pertains to those city girls. I feel like your best bet is always to go to the semi-provincial areas. And I think in all of those areas, the same rules apply with the exception of Dumaguete, because Dumaguete is a very, very high-trafficked foreigner destination in the Cebu area. I don't know why it is, but a lot of people brag about it, and a lot of people know about it, so a lot of people go there. So, with the exception of Dumaguete, like I said, all of the areas on the outskirts of the Cebu City, Cebu metro area, you'll probably have your better chance of getting the good cream of the crop as you choose to date further away from the city life. I mean, I'm telling you, I just feel it personally that Koreans dominate, and they definitely have an influential factor on how Filipino women choose to date. And you hear me saying that a lot because I want you to take that into consideration. Now, again, to be honest, like I said, hand on a stack of Bibles, my first experience there, I hated it. It was not working for me. And this was way before I think the influx of Korean people actually came to Cebu at that time. This was early 2000s. Then, like I said, with that being an influential factor, the two second times that I actually went, I was with somebody, so it wasn't as if I was actually in the moment trying to, see what I could get, female wise. Maybe if I had an opportunity to do that, maybe my answers would be different. But unfortunately, the best that I could give you is what I give you right now. So what I want to do is I want to reflect that question back to you, gentlemen. I want to reflect that back to you. Any African American, African, whatever, wherever you're from, POC, person of color, whatever you want to call yourself. If you've ever been to Cebu, tell me what part of Cebu you went to, and I want you to tell me what your experiences were like. And I think that if we create the necessary dialogue, it'll definitely give you an answer. Now, if you really want to know the know-all be-all, we've talked about this before. It doesn't matter what your race, your culture, or ethnic background is. Everybody gets love in the Philippines. That is true. I still stand by it 100%. But I do believe that most individuals are well aware that each particular place you choose to travel has its perks, its benefits, or there are areas where certain groups of individuals get favoritism, and we've talked about that, over other groups of individuals. And we're not going to sit here and act like it doesn't exist. So if you ask me personally, you ask the question, Doc's going to give you a personal answer. In the Cebu City area, for the most part, you have to understand that the Koreans have a high influential factor over these Filipinos in a way that they choose to date the men that they do. They choose to look for men who look like them if they can't date Koreans themselves. The light skin, white skin is really a big deal for me. I see it. That's the way I see it personally. I believe that it's influential on the females. You see a lot of them trying to lighten their skin, even though that's all over the country. And again, who they choose to mate with, who they choose to be with, you can kind of see that as well. I'm not saying that as a brother, you're not going to get any love. I'll never say that. Shit. As long as you got game, you already know what happens when that happens. You already know what happens when that happens, But I wanted to put that in the back of your mind, not to deter, not to deter you from going to the Philippines or deter you from going to Cebu, but I just wanted you to open your eyes just a little bit more. If you've never been, maybe you're talking to a young lady in the Cebu area, a pretty little Morena Cebuana, nice little young lady. Maybe the way that you see things are a little bit different. You found one that you can get with, and that's cool. I'm not saying that that's not possible, okay? I'm just saying that from my own personal experiences, trying to freestyle it, trying to meet them in person, maybe something quick online or, something to that effect. I've learned that over time, it's just not as easy from my own experiences than trying to do that in Manila, trying to do that in places like Davao City. I feel like you'll have to deal with a little bit more. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a lot of people will see it differently. Maybe like, Doc, man, I don't have no problems where I go, man. I always get girls, man. It don't matter. I'm just saying there are certain things, a couple of factors that I just want you to take into consideration. I'm not saying that you won't get anything in Cebu. I'm just saying that you have to take into consideration your landscape. And that's everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you have to take into consideration your landscape. who your audience is. That's what they tell you. Like when you're doing public speaking, you gotta understand your audience. When you're doing YouTube, they tell you gotta understand your audience. Same rules apply when you travel to different areas in Manila, more specifically in different areas in the Philippines, more specifically in Cebu. Gotta know your audience. You gotta know who is occupying the crowd right now. You know who's in the crowd, who's listening to what you gotta say. And once you understand that, you navigate appropriately, you adjust appropriately. And then from there, I think you'll have no problems. So if you ask me the truth, how do they treat black men in Cebu? I'm going to tell you honestly, I feel like you stand a chance just like anywhere else in the Philippines. Again, that's the more general dynamic question, but I feel like those two factors are things you need to take into consideration. A, the type of foreigner that is occupying the area the most. You know who they are. I'm not going to say it again. Number two, factor, taking into consideration trying to move your how can I say this, trying to shift your search for a pretty young thing outside of the city area. The more south you travel or the more outside of the city you travel, the better chances of getting something that is good, better chance of getting something that's not going to judge you based off of anything other than the content of your character. Shout out to Dr. Martin Luther King. I remember that from that I Have a Dream speech. Judge a person by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. Yeah, and that's how I'm going to end it, man. I can't end it any better than that. With that being said, the good dog is officially out. At least nako pa alam, which means I'm going now. Bye-bye. As always, love you guys. Maakita. Mabuhay. Peace.